all of us going to find that chance of significant weather as we go through the evening hour tonight. This, again, the storm we're watching very, very carefully. We do have that tornado warning in association with that. And just to give an idea of what warnings we have on, let me just highlight some of those for you. I'll add some lightning on here as well. You can see our lightning counter. And again, most of the lightning appears to be to our north across that region. But if you're in Ben-Hur, you're seeing some of the activity coming your way as well. Most of that right now just off to your west and to your northwest. So you can definitely see how we're watching that area off to your west and northwest. And there are the hail cores in the purple where Laurel's been highlighting some of that. You can see the purple here in association with that complex of storms as well. So we're going to watch this cell. It continues to make its way across Lee County. This is a tornado warning here, and definitely still seeing rotation in association with this cell. And that's why we continue to watch this, because you can definitely see, if you're looking at Lee County here, right over Sulphur Springs and Ben-Hur, that's where that center of circulation is. So if you're living in this area, most likely this is where you're going to have to pay very close attention to your weather, because we're watching that rotation there, that bit of a couplet there on the map, and that's what you want to pay attention to, because as you're looking at that center of circulation is right in through here. So Sulphur Springs, Ben-Hur, you're looking at that possibility where you may have some rotation in the atmosphere. If you do have that, you need to seek shelter indoors, away from windows, lowest level of your house, if preferably in a basement. But if you don't have a basement, we understand that. That's where you go into a hallway, a closet, or in a bathroom. Take shelter in those areas as well, because that's the safest place to be in the event that we do have a possible tornado in your area. Let me show you what we're looking at in terms of some of the path here, because that's also interesting to note out. If we take some of this, sometimes we oftentimes get what we call a signature force, which tells us where we may, in fact, have some pretty good signature of tornadoes, and that's what we're looking at right in through here. That's why our what we call our tornado signature index going up a bit here into Southwest Virginia. So again, if you're in this area, you've got damage, somebody let us know if you're getting any types of damage in Southwest Virginia. We're talking Lee County here, because that's one of the only ways we really get word out that if we've had any kind of damage in this region. Ben-Hur, you're seeing that right over your region now. And again, you can see some of the towns here, Pennington Gap, just northeast of there. This is what we're looking at here. You're looking at Jonesville to the south, so just north of you folks in Jonesville, that's where we have that center of circulation still going on. And again, it's really confined right now to areas of Southwest Virginia. That's what we've been watching here. And let me show you the radar, because just a typical radar, just to show you what's been happening here in terms of all the thunderstorm activity. We've got a lot more storms to go, and I just want to hit the home button 1 second so we can show you what we have back to our west and to our southwest, because all this is coming our way later this evening. You're seeing severe thunderstorm warnings here back towards Knoxville. Majority of this is going to be wind and hail threat, but we are definitely watching this tornado warning storm here into areas of Southwest Virginia for Lee County. And again, if that holds together long enough, this is in effect until 9:45 for the Lee County area. You definitely see that complex, that little bit of a hook there hanging off of that edge, and that's what we continue to watch very carefully here as we're watching Southwest Virginia. There's the velocity. You see that tight couplet right in through here. That's what we continue to watch for. So we've got a couplet there. We'll give you a better idea where that actually might be by looking at this particular image, a couplet close together, which indicates there might actually still be some rotation going on there. And we actually can see that. You're seeing that rotation right there, just southwest of Pennington Gap in Southwest Virginia. And if we were to query some of the towns in the path of that, we now have a pretty good couplet on there. You can see, let me move some of these towns over so you can see that. And let me click that one more time for you folks again, because this is what we're looking at here. If I can grab this, I don't know if I can grab that or not. We may have to have you do that, Laurel. But nonetheless, you can see some of the towns in the path. Let's get those towns with Laurel real quick. Who's in the path of this particular tornado, as it is still showing up quite nicely on our radar, Laurel?
Thanks, Mark. And as we do take a closer look of currently who is in this path of this storm, let's take a closer look at the live Viper radar. What we can see right now is the reflectivity of currently the Jackson radar is what we can see, and still seeing that very nice hook echo right over Ben-Hur. And once again, that very much lining up with currently our storm relative vorticity, where we can still see a nice couplet intact right here. The green moving towards the radar and the red moving away away from the radar right here, creating that circulation, what we can see, and that's how we can see, right here, what we can see right here is currently this couplet that's currently forming and still very much intact across our region. As I do draw a little bit, here's the couplet of what we're seeing. So right over Ben-Hur, once again, this currently moving into a Pennington Gap region, as well as Woodway, and this is what we call the couplet. So this is where this is currently moving up towards Pennington Gap, right over Ben-Hur, and what we can see with this at the moment, again, this is looking at the Jackson radar, so the green moving towards the Jackson radar, as well as the red, which is moving away from the Jackson radar, creating that broad rotation, what we can see right here being the tornado currently down right by Ben-Hur, as well as moving towards Pennington Gap, as well as Collier Mills, what we can see at the moment. Moving back up towards the Jackson radar to see, because not only are we focusing on the tornado, we are also focusing in on some hail currently across the region as well, back towards Cranks and moving towards Manus as well, is what we can see with this storm at the moment. And moving back towards reflectivity, where we can see the storm as a whole. Once again, seeing that nice hook echo right here, creating that tornado signature is what we can see. And this storm currently moving 20 to 30 miles per hour, moving up towards the northeast, currently moving at 26 miles per hour, according to our system right here. But with this storm, once again, also looking at hail as well, so possibly seeing about half-inch diameter hail. And if you do see any hail, make sure you pick it up and put a coin next to it so we can see next to that the size of how big that hail is across your region, but definitely make sure it's safe outside. You can send those images to PIX@WJHL. It'd be very much appreciated. But back to the radar of what we can see right now of who is in that line of storms we can see right here. And taking a closer look at that radar, we can see currently Pennington Gap going to be impacted by this storm in about 5 minutes. Pocket about 5-10 minutes going to be impacted there. Woodway possibly within the next 10-15 minutes going to be impacted by this storm. And once again, for those of you who are just joining us, currently a tornado warning impacting Lee County, Virginia, in effect until 9:45 p.m. tonight. Taking a closer look as I clear this radar off just a little bit, seeing once again this neat hook echo that we can see right here, just south of Pennington Gap, indicating to us that we are currently still seeing that tornado signature, possibly still a tornado on the ground is what we can see right there. Taking a look at the storm relative vorticity, still seeing that nice couplet, what we can see right here. Now this, with the red and the green coming together, back up towards the Jackson radar so nobody gets confused. As we can see right here, that couplet still being formed over Pennington Gap at the moment. We can see the green right here moving up towards the Jackson radar is what we're using right now. And the red right to the east of Pennington Gap, or the west of Pennington Gap, and down towards Collier Mill. We can see that broad rotation right there forming that couplet is what we can see, once again indicating the tornado warning issued until 9:45 p.m. tonight. And that's what we're focusing on right now. Once again, not only focusing on the tornado, still focusing in on the hail possible across the region as well. And we can see right here up toward Manus, that little bit of black, that indicates to us that there is a hail core present within the parent thunderstorm that we can see moving just to the north of Pennington Gap right there. Manus possibly seeing a good amount of hail. And with that, what we can also see is hail increasing in diameter, possibly seeing we saw some large hail back towards Cranks, and now moving up towards Manus, possibly about a 1/4 of an inch to about a 1/2 inch of hail in diameter as we do take a look at the hail path at the moment right now. But once again, to show you who is being impacted by this storm as we move back towards the reflectivity, once again, seeing that hook echo right here indicating a radar tornado at the moment, which is still why this tornado is being warned on. And as we can see right here, once again, seeing that hail core right up back towards Manus and headed up more towards Pennington Gap, and as well as Woodway as well. Taking a little bit of another look at where this storm can be going, and then I'll pass it back off to Mark Reynolds. Currently 26 miles per hour moving back up to the northeast. Currently Pennington Gap going to be impacted by this storm within the next 5 minutes. Pocket going to be impacted within the next 5 minutes. Woodway moving into about 10 minutes in order to find shelter, and make sure you are being extremely prepared for when this storm hits. Mark?
All right, also, we're watching that storm right here, and I just want to give you an update. I know a lot of you are concerned with what's going on TV right now. I know we have programming on. We are on the air because we do have a severe situation going on now across Southwest Virginia. Not sure if this is updating, Laurel, so I may use your radar. If you can, switch over your radar real quick because we are definitely watching the timestamp here. Your radar a little updated more than mine, so if you would switch two real quick for us, you can definitely see this. There's that appendage we're watching. We're going to keep it right there, and if you would, click some cities on here for us. This is still an ongoing situation. This is a tornado warned storm. It's in Lee County in Southwest Virginia. I know a lot of you folks in Tennessee are saying, hey, get off the air. We're tired of seeing this, but we are on the air because we do have an ongoing tornado warning until 9:45 for Lee County. That's our job. We got to be on the air for these. That's why we're on the air right now. So if you can, Laurel, kind of move everything over so we can see this pendage. We'll keep the screenshot here. I want to point out the fact that, yes, we still have a BTI. That's a tornado index of 4.8, which is a pretty good scenario here for us. And these storms are also producing some large hail. Penley, Manus, you're seeing that, and Pennington Gap. This is right over you folks right now. So if we can, let's go ahead and give you the velocity mode because you're looking at the reflectivity mode where we see oftentimes the radar. And let's go into storm relative velocity because here you can see as we give you a closer inspection of storm relative velocity. Not sure if you're on that mode. Are you on that mode? Okay. Here we are. This is that broad center of circulation. If you were on Morristown's radar, Laurel, you can definitely see that we're watching that center of circulation right into here, south of Pennington Gap. And again, it's moving eastward. So if you do have any sign of a tornado, it's most likely going to be right in this region where we are still seeing a bit of some rotation here in association with that complex of storms right over the Pennington Gap area. And again, that's just a look at reflectivity. And we'll show you what's going on as we give you the shear path because this is a good idea what we've been looking at here. If we look at our shear path of where this storm came out of, Kentucky moved right over Lee County, now coming up to Woodway. And again, if it holds together long enough, it's going to move into Scott County here as well. That's why we're still looking at that tornado warning in effect until 9:45 this evening. They're keeping that still in effect here as well as we've been watching that rotating path of storm right into Lee County now. So we'll give you a closer inspection. We'll take it right back into areas of southwestern areas of Lee County. Now you're looking at Scott County, but this is Pennington Gap, Scott County right over here. This is what we're looking at. Let's go ahead and put the reflectivity back on here because here too, you can see that pendage kind of hanging down here. We've got what is typical with tornadoes, the hail core to the north, and there's that pendage kind of hanging down here, where if we were to see a tornado now, watch this area right here. Well, let's go ahead and circle Woodway, and if you look at that, we'll circle that whole region right here because that is most likely where we're going to see that pendage showing up with our velocity mode. So we'll give you a storm relative velocity, and as you look at that, you'll see that center of circulation pretty much right in that area or just a little north of there. So this is the entire region that we're looking at. That's where you have some rotation. Yes, it's broad. It's really not a tight couplet, but that tells us where that center of circulation might be. Let's take that circle off there, right there, and we'll just show you velocity mode, just a general look at velocity. Right here, we're pointing out some of the bright colorization here. Again, the red and the green going toward and away from the radar site. You can definitely see that we're still looking at that tornado warning until 9:45. So yes, we're still looking at, if there's a tornado here, maybe 60, 70 mile per hour winds right now as we see that center of circulation broad as it is. It's not a tight couplet that we oftentimes look for, but nonetheless, it has been tight at times, and now we're watching the red and green couplet there. So storm relative right there. If we click on that, you can see how right there it is. It's more of a broad circulation. Most of the lightning up to the north. We're seeing lightning down towards Woodway as well. And just to give you an idea, the CC, or coefficient correlation, if we were to have anything lofted, if you take that back about 30 minutes or so, you see that blue there showing up. That's where you may see a little bit. We're going to take that center of circulation, the blue right there. Let's back this graphic up about 30 seconds or so. You can see that about 15 minutes actually, Laurel. You'll see how we've been watching that make its way right there. That's a little bit of maybe something going on there just east of Pennington Gap. We're watching that carefully. Otherwise, back to reflectivity, you can see that there's that pendage right here that we're looking at. And again, there's the inflow notch where you're seeing the thunderstorm winds going into the storm and kind of wrapping around there with the hail core to the north. And again, that's the center of circulation. What's interesting though with this, Laurel, we're watching it's moving out of Lee County here soon. and that's going to make its way into Scott County. So we're watching that. We've had some power outages already, by the way, in Hawkins County, and you can definitely see that. Safest place to be naturally. Laurel's going to give us some ideas on that as to where to go. Laurel, we're watching your graphics there. There's your power outages. And again, Hawkins County, we have a 2.5% of the county without power right now. That's in Hawkins County. Not sure if we have Lee County on there or not, but Lee County, you've also seen some of the stronger thunderstorms in your region as well. Some of those may have actually produced some power outages also. So Hawkins County in Tennessee, we're seeing some of the power outages there, and you can see our map there. Those are current power outages across southwest Virginia. Laurel, let's have you look at the radar real quick. And again, I'm looking here at still they're going to keep that warning at least until 9:45. That's why we're on the air. Unfortunately, I know a lot of you want to watch what's going on programming right now, but this is a very, very well-defined storm. Look at that center of circulation right in through here. That's why we've got that tornado warning still in effect for Lee County in southwest Virginia. And if you pull this out just enough and take some of the wordage off there so people can see Scott County on here as well. Here's the Gate City area, Nicholsville, and Big Stone Gap. So we're going to watch this cell move out of Lee County into areas of Scott County and just south of Wise in Virginia. So again, if you are living in northern Scott County, you got to be looking out for this as well. It does appear now, Laurel, we have a new severe thunderstorm warning out, which does include Scott County here, and I'm looking for that as well. So that's for Lee and Scott County and Wise County until 10:15. This is a severe thunderstorm warning. We're on the air because of this tornado warning here for Lee County. And again, that's why we're on the air. If we lose the tornado warning, trust me, we'll get off the air so you can watch programming, but nonetheless, you got to stay on because we're watching that possibility of severe weather, including damaging thunderstorm winds. That'd be winds in excess of 60, 70 mile per hour, large hail, heavy rain, and that possibility of that tornado there. Let's get a closer look at that tornado warning storm there in the Pennington Gap area. Laurel?
Thanks, Mark. And as we do take a closer look, for those of you who have just joined us, currently a tornado warning storm for Lee County, Virginia, issued until 9:45 p.m. tonight. Taking a closer look, just recently issued by the National Weather Service, a severe thunderstorm warning for parts of Lee, Wise, and Scott County. So make sure that if you are in this area, from Big Stone Gap to Norton to Wise, all the way down to Gate City area, make sure you are staying weather aware because this is going to be moving towards you within the next couple of minutes. Obviously, taking a closer look at this tornado warning storm, we can see right here, this is what we're seeing at the moment. This is currently until 9:45 p.m. tonight, but still seeing this little appendage right here, as we can see just to the east of Pennington Gap. And what I do want to take a look at is the couplet of this storm, seeing a nice radar signature right here indicating that this storm is a tornado warning storm, but also a couple of other things that we can see in order to figure out if there is currently a tornado on the ground is to take a look at the storm reflectivity. And we can see right here, this is using the Morristown radar. And what we can see here is the green moving back towards the radar right here, and also the red moving away from the radar. So not a very tight couplet, but what we can see, but this is a very broad rotation couplet, but still indicating that there is rotation with this storm, meaning also a tornado is possible within this storm. Once again, just to the north of Stickleyville, as well as just to the south of Drayton. And what we can see, this lines up very nicely with what we can see on reflectivity as well. So seeing what the radar sees, again, lining up very nicely with this appendage, as well as what we call the hook echo, indicating a storm may have a tornado involved in it. One other thing that we also like to look at is because there are a lot of clouds and meteorological aspects within the atmosphere, there is the possibility that this storm can start to act like a vacuum and suck up debris from down towards the surface. And as you can see right here, possibly a little bit of debris being picked up right here as I do clear this radar real quick. This is where the hook was and what we could see where this indent and where the appendage started. So right here, it looks like that storm is picking up a little bit of debris right here as this storm does continue to progress. Once again, taking a look at the reflectivity, still seeing a very nice, well put together together storm, and that correlation coefficient where possibly a debris is being picked up with this storm very nicely lines up with this right here. So that is a significant sign that this tornado is almost acting as like a vacuum and possibly picking up debris from the surface is what we can see right there. Once again, just to the south of Drayton, up north of Stickleyville, as well as just to the east of Eli, what we can see right there is once again currently a tornado warned storm, what we can see. And also taking a look once again at this couplet, and this is a pretty impressive couplet once again is what we can see. Not necessarily tight together, but still a broad band of what we can see at the moment, popping up that tornado warning once again issued until 9:45 p.m. tonight for Lee County, and a severe thunderstorm warning issued until 10:15 for the rest of Lee County, as well as for Scott County. And this just got extended through Scott County, Wise County, and the rest of Lee County is what we can see. Tornado warned storm in effect until 10:15. Once again, keeping an eye on that couplet, what we can see right here with this storm. Again, using the Morristown radar, which is to our south. Here we can see the circulation moving away from the radar and moving towards the radar. So a very broad circulation is what we can see right now for this storm. But once again, very much focusing on not only the tornado, but the hail threats as well with this storm in particular. So moving back towards the reflectivity, possibly seeing hail up towards our north, so just south of Bundy, and also more towards Purcell as well, moving up towards Drayton and Deep Springs, going to possibly be in for a good amount of hail. And while Mark gets set up on the green screen right there, I'm going to hop over to the 3D image just to show you a possible 3D view of this storm. And as I do clear this with all my markings on it at the moment, we can see currently right now this storm very, very tall and extremely powerful. So as I do take a little bit of a look down, these clouds are approaching 30,000 feet. So a very, very high up and powerful storm. And taking a cross section of this storm and moving back towards the center, we can see possibly hail cores right there. So where you can see right here where that black is right there, that's a possible hail. That is the hail core, which is dropping active hail across the region. And we can see that just to the north of Drayton, and also moving back towards Deep Springs. That's where we're seeing that circulation. So possibly a tornado on the ground by Deep Springs is what we can see here from this cross section. And I'm going to move back just a little bit to see if we can see any more hail. Back towards Bundy, possibly seeing some hail as well as a significant hail core is trying to develop and get a little bit stronger as we do take a look at this cross section. But again, back towards the reflectivity radar, what we can see as to looking at the storm. Once again, if you're just joining us, a tornado warned storm again issued for parts of Scott County, Lee County, as well as Wise County is what we can see right here across Southwest Virginia. What you want to do is take shelter immediately, get to the lowest level of your home or the most interior part of your house, such as a bathroom or an interior hallway. Mark, I'm going to pass it back to you at the Greenwell to see what we can all see on this radar.
Again, that's why we're watching this tornado warned storm here into Southwest Virginia. I want to show you this line of storms also coming in from the west. So until we get that line through here, we've got more thunderstorms to go. And again, you've been watching Laurel here showing you parts of Lee County here into Southwest Virginia. We're going to zoom in on that area because that's where the tornado warned storm is. And again, this is now in effect for areas of not only Lee County, but Wise County, as well as Scott County. There's a storm right there. Not sure if this radar is updating again, Laurel. So we're going to have to watch this carefully, but this is nonetheless what we're looking at in terms of velocity mode. You can see a very, very tight couplet right through here that we've been watching on the storm. So if we can, let's switch back over to your radar because this does not appear to be updating. So we're going to look at the radar here. And again, let's just take the watches and warnings all off here. These are tornado warnings, and I know a lot of you want to watch programming. We're on the air because this is an ongoing tornado warning. This now covers Lee County, Scott County, and Wise County. This is a tornado warning until 10:15. I do want to point out the fact that we've certainly seen a very well-defined signature on the radar here of that tornado warning and the tornado storm. And this is our circulation now. I think, we're in Morristown and we're on severe reflectivity. So you can see storm relative motion here, what I'm trying to say. And we've been watching some of the lightning also ramping up. This is the green going towards the radar, away from the radar here. That's that center of circulation that we've been watching here on the radar into Southwest Virginia. So take a look at that. Now we're going to show you the severe mode where we've been watching that make its way across areas of southwest Virginia, our shear path. This is the path of the storm. Look, it's come out of Kentucky all the way through Lee County, getting ready to cross over the border now into possibly northern Scott and Wise County. So that's the path we've been looking at here, where we've been watching this rotating coming across just north of Jonesville and right over the Pennington Gap area. So that's the view of our swath of shear where we see it rotating. Now let's go back to our velocity mode, storm relative velocity, because I want to point out where the storm is again, right here, Big Stone Gap. Let's keep it right there. There's Big Stone Gap right here. You're looking at Dryden right here, and Deep Springs, also Jasper and Stickleyville. That's the area concerned right now. Yes, it looks broad, but you know what we're going to do? We're going to circle this area right here, and then I'll switch gears. We'll keep the same radar mode, and let's jump over to Jackson in Kentucky just to see if we see any difference with that broad center circulation there. And you still can see it between Dryden and Deep Springs. That's where that rotation is. That's what we're watching here into southwest Virginia. And again, it's over Lee County, getting ready to push into possibly Scott as well as Wise County. This is a tornado warning. It's in effect now until 10:15. Now, they just canceled the tornado warning for Lee County. National Weather Service offers canceling that because, as you notice here, the storm's already moved out. Let's get back to reflectivity, and we'll take the cursor off the screen there so you can definitely see this here. So wider perspective so we can pick out your counties now. Now we have that tornado warning really in effect for Scott County, which is what we've been saying also now into Wise County. Look at Big Stone Gap. You're under the gun here. We have a lot of hail here. We're still seeing that little pendage here coming down in association with that cell. So you look at that right there. We've got the circulation still going on. So if you can, Laurel, turn on your rotating columns as well. All three of those, we'll be able to see if we see that center of rotation as we give you storm relative here, because our storm relative velocity shows us where this cell is located at. Again, over parts of Lee County now, coming out of Lee County into Scott and Wise County in southwest Virginia. So there's a center of circulation. Let's look at our storm relative here. And as we do that, you can see the hail cores right there. There is what we're looking at. There's that circulation again from Jasper to Deep Springs. We've got your columns on there too. Are you watching those, Laurel? Watching the possibility of some rotation here. Let's see if there's some skits on here too, because with the skits, it most likely will give us an idea of where those cells are best, where we have the best chance of seeing that circulation. So if you could turn your skits on, we're not seeing any skits appears at this time, but nonetheless, the storm not as well defined right now as it has been, but nonetheless, Laura, we're watching that carefully with that hail core going on. And again, this is quite a storm. It's been moving through Lee County, now coming into Scott County, as well as Wise County. You're definitely under the gun here. Heavy rainfall, gusty winds, hail, and that possibility of that tornado warning again for Scott and Wise County now until 10:15. Underneath that, you're seeing the yellow blank. That is where we have a severe thunderstorm warning also in effect. So this is a storm moving right now about 30 miles per hour. It's going to continue to make its way eastward and still has a potential, Laurel, of producing a tornado in the region.
Mark, absolutely right, but you did mention hail. Now that we're not necessarily seeing that strong of a tornado signature of what we've been seeing earlier this evening, let's now take a look at the hail path of what we've been really seeing, because here radar indicated that there is hail present, and now we're starting to see that skid approve again, so we'll take a look at that in 1 second. But just to the north of Deep Springs, seeing the possibility of hail right there as well, and even back towards Manus and Crank, saw significant hail moving up through Pennington Gap and now into Deep Springs, moving up towards Scott and Wise County in southwest Virginia. Let's also take a look back towards the reflectivity. We can see significant dark purple colors right there, but also that can also indicate with hail as well that hail is being produced inside a very strong storm. Now with hail, when you get very strong upward forces within a thunderstorm, it makes a thunderstorm very, very tall and can allow moisture within the thunderstorm to freeze on contact and create hail as it falls back down towards the surface as it gets heavier and heavier. So what I want to do right here is take a 3D look at a 3D cross section of what we can possibly be seeing within this storm. And let's take a look right here. Let me clear things out just a little bit and take a 3D view of what this storm could possibly look like from within. Let's take a nice cross section of this storm as well. Moving down towards the south, so looking at the storm from the south down towards Stickleyville. We can see right here as we do take a cross section of this storm, moving back to where we can see the tallest part of the storm. So approaching 30,000 feet, we can see with these clouds. So very, very tall thunderstorm, what we can see right here. And as I move in and move down a little bit so you can see the inner workings of this thunderstorm, we can see here just over Deep Springs, you can see the little specks of black within this storm, meaning that there is active hail being formed. So this is what we call the hail core of a thunderstorm. Now, the forces within a thunderstorm get so strong, they allow water droplets to be forced upward. Because of the energy within the thunderstorm, it's extremely cold within the inner workings of a thunderstorm. So that water freezes on contact, and as it collides with different water droplets, they freeze together, making those hail balls is what we can see right here. And as of right now, we can possibly be seeing hail about 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch wide. So roughly about the size of a quarter is what we can see. And if you do see hail and it's safe outside, make sure you lay it next to a coin and send us a photo. We would absolutely love to see that. Anyway, taking a look back at the Morristown radar, we can see right here, and now that the skids are starting to move back into across the region, we can once again see a little bit of an appendage starting to form back down towards Deep Springs and back towards Stickleyville as well. We can see also the inflow of this storm once again starting to form right near Jasper right here. So that's what we can possibly see as another tornado possibly starting to form as well. But let's also take a look of where this storm is headed. Back to the radar, we can see now focusing on the skids that are starting to form. Currently, this storm moving at 24 miles per hour to the east-northeast, and we can see that right here. Possibly about a 1/2 inch of hail is what we can see moving right back towards Bundy and now moving up towards Cadet, so and also Deep Springs as well. So make sure you are staying weather aware, because possibly we're not only looking at a tornado again, but also significant hail at about a 1/2 inch diameter. So that's what we can see at the moment looking at this current storm. So just make sure you are staying weather aware. Deep Springs going to be hit within the next couple of minutes, so make sure you are staying weather aware and also finding shelter immediately. Now moving down towards Harvey, probably have about 5 minutes to find some shelter. Back towards Irondale, probably within the next 5-10 minutes, you will definitely start to feel the effects of this storm. So make sure you are staying weather aware, and also make sure you are staying informed with the weather is what we can see right here. And Mark, if I'm seeing this correctly, we can see once again that inflow notch happening right to the east of Deep Springs. And I am going to take a look currently at the storm relative vorticity, because once again, we're starting to see a little bit more of a defined couplet right here, which is a possibility that a tornado is trying to reform from this storm. We can see the green moving towards the Morristown radar and the red moving away. So we can see this broad rotation, and I'm going to circle this region right here because this region very much nicely lines up with what we're seeing in reflectivity, possibly the inflow notch of a new tornado that's possibly forming, but also this is the next circulation of what we can possibly see with another tornado trying to form. So right near Jasper, Tito, Deep Springs, and moving up towards the borders of Wise as well as Smith County in Virginia. So once again, for those of you who are in this region, back up towards Irondale, Big Stone Gap, even back towards Deep Springs, make sure you are finding shelter and getting to the lowest level of your home, because this storm is a nasty one. And as we do continue to take a look at this storm, as of right now, this severe tornado warning has not been extended. Currently, it is in effect until 10:15 p.m., but we can see this storm start to lose organization and then regain that organization. But this isn't the only storm that we're focusing on. Once again, as we back up the radar significantly, we can start to see some severe thunderstorm warnings being issued back towards back towards more of the central part of Tennessee. We can see right here. And as we do take a look to more straighten this map out just a little bit, we are going to be keeping an eye on a secondary line of storms that's going to be continuing to make its way through the region as we head through the overnight tonight. So this is the night to very much stay weather aware, as we are going to continue to see active weather continue to roll through the region as we head into later on tonight as well. So it's going to be a long night for us weather folks. So just make sure you are staying weather aware as we still head into the overnight tonight. Once again, within this thunderstorm warning, in this tornado warning and the severe thunderstorm warning, make sure you you are finding shelter, getting to the lowest level of your home. And also we can see once again a lot of things happening on this radar. So it's best for you to stay aware, because currently we are seeing severe thunderstorm watches, which means conditions are favorable, as well as warnings that is currently a tornado warning for Lee, Smith, as well as Wise counties in Southwest Virginia. So make sure you are staying weather aware. And if you are ever in a warning, you have to act now, because that's when those conditions are absolutely imminent. And then also just making sure if you are in that area where Wise, Lee, and Smith counties are within that tornado warning, you have to make sure you are finding that correct shelter. Currently moving down to the lowest level of your home, such as a basement. But if you don't have a basement, just make sure you are moving to the most inner portion of your house, such as a bathroom or such as an innermost hallway, because that is how you're going to stay the most protected if you are away from any outside walls or any windows and doors. Mark, I'm going to send it back to you to see what else we can see on that radar.
Correction, we're not talking about Smith County, we're talking about Scott County in Southwest Virginia. So Lee County, you're out of the warning. Scott County, Wise County, you're under the tornado warning until 10:15. This is a look at our reflectivity mode. We're actually in storm relative mode. You can actually see that center of circulation still just south of Big Stone Gap. It's coming into Scott County now. This is a tornado warning storm for Scott County, Wise County. Those two counties under the gun here, tornado warning until 10:15 this evening, as we are looking at that circulation right here coming through Scott County now. So there's a possibility if we were to see a tornado, it'd most likely be right in this area here. And what's really interesting with our radar, we've been watching this today. We've had a lot of rotation from Lee County now coming into Scott County in terms of the radar mode. We've not gotten any confirmation of tornadoes in this area, but I'm looking here, seeing if we have anything, and we don't. We still have that tornado warning in effect, and that's because we're still watching a very well-defined center of circulation of red going towards, or away from the radar, green coming towards. What I want to show you, though, we're going to switch over to Laurel's radar, because as we do that, I want to point out what we're watching here, because that is
the high country, literally, of Wise and Scott County right now.
Yeah, I'll go back over to the velocity products. So the rotation, Devil's Bathtub area, Hunter Valley West Road, and this tornado warning continues until 10:15. Could have some large hail and some damaging winds. Let's put a storm track on this. We haven't done that in a little while, to update everyone on the progress of the entire cell, as it's moving to the east at about 25 miles an hour. So as we scan the leading edge, moving eastward. So hitting Wise right now. Moving into Coburn, 10:11, Dungannon, 10:17, the hybrid power plant about 10:26, Castlewood about 10:34. So we'll be getting a new warning from the National Weather Service very soon. And based on how strong the rotation is, we'll either get a severe thunderstorm or tornado warning.
Yeah, I'm sure they will extend that at the very least to a severe thunderstorm warning.
Yeah.
Maybe losing perhaps some of the shear.
Yeah, it doesn't look as strong.
But still, I mean, it's had a pretty long history for several hours now, all the way back into East Tennessee, north of and west of Knoxville, of having tornado potential. But as of now, I mean, we've been covering this tornado live for quite a while, as it began in Lee County and Harlan County. But we, as of this point, cannot confirm that there has been a tornado touchdown. But as you mentioned, we have had at least some storm damage right in Pennington Gap.
Yes, and also as of late, I'm seeing less lightning. Let me turn off the radar just so we can look at just the lightning strikes. And
so here's the storm, and most recent lightning strikes were when it was perhaps back here.
Right. So we're not seeing as many lightning strikes, so that's a good sign. But when that trend continues, we need it to last for a while so that the storm doesn't get stronger again.
Exactly.
But still an intense sail, and sometimes as the storm is beginning to weaken, it could put out some winds.
Yeah, I mean, when like oftentimes, we see in the summertime, those summertime thunderstorms, they explode. They have a shelf life, not very long, but when they collapse and rain themselves out, they produce, damaging downdraft winds oftentimes. And so that is always something that you have to keep an eye on as well with with the storm. Not to say that this one isn't producing, just general straight line winds still, but I mean saying this thing is still, while even perhaps weakening somewhat here over the past 15 minutes, is still producing some intense amounts of rain and at least some occasional lightning and probably some small hail. This wind product, this is showing from Jackson, or not? There's Jackson right there, isn't it?
Yeah. There's Jackson, there's Morristown. We're kind of in between radars, so we're trying to look at both to get an idea. It's showing rotation in the same general area around High Knob, around Devil's Bathtub.
But since they're kind of keying in on the core of the wind, or where the rotation is from opposite ends, the colors are kind of reversed a little bit there.
Right.
And so that's
looking at the storm in different directions. So it's right along the Scott and Wise County line. So right in the core of the storm is where the strongest winds are currently, and the possible rotation. Let's briefly get a look at the storms that are back to the west, because this is turning into a line of storms.
That will be obviously impacting the Tri-Cities as we go forward in time.
This is going to be a more widespread line, but that's what, there are the warnings currently, and then we put the radar back on and loop it, so this is going to end up sweeping through everybody. We won't just have these individual cells. Oftentimes an isolated cell has the higher potential for tornado, but a line has a higher potential to produce straight line wind damage.
And you'll notice, to your point, David, that this entire line basically has a severe thunderstorm warning with it, all the way from Bell County in Kentucky all the way south to Knoxville, and then not exactly sure how far south it goes from that point, but it does go all the way down even farther, not quite down to Chattanooga, but this entire line of storms does have the potential for severe wind gusts, as well as some perhaps up to quarter-size hail. But the cell that we've been tracking, and for the reason we've been on the air, is the one that has had a tornado warning with it really for quite some time now, ever since it moved into Lee County and Harlan County along the Kentucky-Virginia border, and has been showing significant rotation as it's been moving across these areas of Lee and Scott and Wise counties. But most recently, perhaps, we're seeing some slight weakening in the storm itself, but there still is, you can see the pockets of green right through here and the pockets of red right here, indicating that wind shear of opposing winds. And if you think about it, we got the rotating winds like this, and that's what causes the rotation within a thunderstorm. You get an updraft, and you can get the ingredients necessary to produce a tornado, even though that storm has not necessarily produced a tornado. It certainly is a possibility. David, you have something new here?
I was going to show this wind shear product. So this is going back in time. This is showing where the strongest wind shear was about an hour ago, about 9:02. Then it moved through the Pennington Gap area about 9:15. And notice some of the brighter greens over Dryden around 9:25. Then we've noticed that it's been breaking up and hasn't been as strong. So that's a good sign. It still doesn't mean the tornado risk has completely ended, but the rotation is not as strong looking at this product, just to kind of give us a timeline of what we've seen over the past hour.
Yeah, perfect. Good perspective on that, and that is at least a good visual for us to kind of look at, and a little product that offers us a way of kind of gauging, how the strength of that circulation may be, coming on, maybe waning or gaining some strength. And right now it does appear perhaps that we are kind of in a cycle downward with this particular cell. Still some incredible rains coming with this storm right now over the High Knob area, stretching up toward Norton and Wise, and then extending south into the northern part of Scott counties, where the heaviest rain is with this storm currently. And you can see that this cell is getting pretty quickly now to the eastern side of the tornado warning. So we're still going to have to wait to see how this storm is handled. Yeah.
And I was just going to mention, over the past few minutes, there's only been 4 lightning strikes. And looking at NWS chat and their National Weather Service in Morristown says they will probably let the tornado warning expire based on the weakening trends and the broader rotation. So,
Yeah, something
just an agreement with what
right,
we're saying there.
So, with that said, we're not through as far as the severe weather potential with this cell necessarily, but as we were pointing out, the main line associated with the cold front that's coming in tonight is still out to our west and still has a pretty broad amount of real estate covered by severe thunderstorm warnings, which is now pushing back into Lee County. We've already got a pretty decent increase in storminess now around Morristown, up toward Rogersville and Bayleton. So we've seen showers and storms pushing into northeast Tennessee, and with some very intense rainfall and some frequent cloud-to-ground lightning here. Well, two areas really here around Bayleton along Interstate 81, and also near and west of Warrensburg to White Pine, up toward Morristown and Bulls Gap and St. Clair, and up just to near Rogersville and in Hawkins County. So this is not being warned for severe weather, but the heavy downpours associated with these showers and storms will in some way kind of prime the ground for perhaps some localized flooding because of the heavy rain that is occurring with these that are not necessarily being severe or being warned for severe weather, but this whole area of showers and storms is going to be passing east and tracking east into the northeast Tennessee, southwest Virginia area. And at this point in time, we do have severe thunderstorm warnings already butting up to Lee County in Bell County, Kentucky, and also Claiborne County, which would be just west of Hancock County. It does include areas along Highway 25E near New Tazewell. So this line of severe storms is moving into the western, or very soon will be moving into the western portion of our East Tennessee viewing counties like Hancock and Hawkins and Cock and also Greene County. So just heads up that we may need some of these warnings, even though we've already seen, as I pointed out, some pretty intense rainfall already in a couple of bands in parts of Hawkins, Cock, and Greene County already, though not being warned for at this particular point in time. But you can see this is a good product here to show where we've had some of the heavy rain, and this is over the past 6 hours or so. And you can see in the yellow and the oranges where at least 1.5 to 2 inches of rain have fallen. And some of this probably is not totally current. That's been moving through parts of Lee and Scott and Wise County, but nonetheless, the heavy rain from these storms putting down a lot of water, and so we'll have to keep an eye on the possibility of some localized flooding as these storms push it off to these, especially those areas that see more than one round of storms. You know, parts of the Tri-Cities haven't seen a whole lot yet, but we're continuing to monitor that situation as they push off to the east.
So as we look at the latest scans here on radar, showing up a little bit better on the Jackson radar, still over the High Knob area and around Devil's Bathtub.
Severe thunderstorm.
That's where the strongest rotation is. So it's going to be moving out of the tornado warning here fairly soon. And we're still awaiting the decision on whether or not we're going to have another severe thunderstorm warning or tornado warning. Okay. It's back to the west, so that we now have some severe thunderstorm warnings for our viewing area from those storms you were talking about, Dave. So now in effect for Lee County. So this is for western Lee County until 10:45. And this is for the possibility of penny-sized hail and 60-mile-an-hour winds. So this is going to be more of a straight line wind threat as this line. It also includes far western Hawkins County.
Yeah, up to there near Mooresburg, Cherokee Lake area. And I noticed on that warning that it was not tagged like the previous warning before it became a tornado warning. Does not tag tornado possible. So
right.
That's I mean,
no strong rotation,
right.
No significant rotation.
Exactly. So, but as we've been highlighting also, severe thunderstorm warnings are issued because they can produce damaging straight line winds of over 50 miles per hour. 58 plus miles an hour is the kind of the threshold that is given for a severe thunderstorm, and quarter size hail. And it looks like perhaps the hail isn't necessarily going to reach that criteria, but still the possibility of some strong localized gusts that might reach 60 miles per hour as these storms continue to push into East Tennessee and Southwest Virginia. So once again, Lee County is under a new severe thunderstorm warning until 10:45, I believe you said, David, and also Hancock County and the far western part of Hawkins County, very far parts of Hawkins County, and all up to about Morristown in Hamlin County. But then again, you can see this pretty intense weather that's occurring ahead of the warning right now in parts of Greene and Hawkins County around the Rogersville and Bulls Gap area. So I mean, there are some other big storms. Don't want to ignore those, because you're probably saying, well, you got this stuff coming in, but it's already raining cats and dogs and a lot of lightning and thunder.
Right.
It's just that we don't have any warnings with that activity right now, but some very intense rain is definitely occurring in that part of Hawkins County near the Greene County line as well, up toward Rogersville.
The only local storm report we've received so far in our area is thunderstorm wind damage. Trees were blown down just west of Pennington Gap. That was around 9:15. That just came in from the National Weather Service. That's the only storm report I have seen so far.
And I'll be grateful and thankful if we don't get any more. But I'll be honest. Thank you for that, Teresa. But I'll be honest. I'll be surprised if we don't get some more storm reports than that with what we've seen come through.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, looking at the latest shear product, it's not showing up at all now. So that's a great trend. We want it to continue. So we're hoping that this tornado warning will expire at 10:15.
Which is just about 3 minutes away.
We're almost there.
Right.
Yeah. But still some very heavy rain, still an intense storm with some lightning moving into the Coburn area. But there's actually more lightning to the south, as you've been talking about, Dave, over Rogersville.
Right.
And very heavy rain. Just doesn't have an official severe thunderstorm warning.
But it is kind of moving.
Still.
But it is kind of moving in a direction that would be somewhat in what we call a training track here, where it's going to be kind of coming up and hitting a decent part of Hawkins and Greene County for a fairly long period of time. And so, I mean, hopefully it'll be moving fast enough that we don't see a serious flood threat. But even as this continues to push off to the east, the larger line of storms that still has severe thunderstorm warnings has yet to come through. So we're going to get probably a 1-2 punch here, where we've already got the intense rainfall now, and then we'll see the line of what is causing or being the storms that are resulting in the severe thunderstorm warnings back to the west will then be coming in from the west as well. So just a heads up that even though we may see this push off to the east of Rogersville, you still got another line of showers and scattered storms to yet contend with as we go through the next couple of hours back to the west. At this point, that line of storms has been responsible for that severe thunderstorm warning until 10:45 for Lee County, as well as Hancock County and the far west parts of Hawkins County and also parts of Hamlin County in northeast Tennessee.
I tell you, we still are receiving some great photos from you. Keep sending those in. This was one very ominous looking. Look at these clouds. This was once again from Jonesville. Rita Langley sent this in. And just take a look at those clouds.
That is that's very ominous. And
they are ominous.
And Teresa, that obviously was part of the storm that was resulting in that tornado warning, but we are getting a report now from the National Weather Service that the tornado warning will expire at 10:15 and not be extended. So there's some good news. This warning will be allowed to expire in just a couple of minutes, indicating that the tornado threat is now not significant enough for that warning to continue off to the east, even though there still could be some strong winds with it and obviously some very heavy rain, which has certainly been with it through its entire track across southwest Virginia here over the past couple of hours.
Yeah, looking at the replay of the shear over the past hour,
It's kind of disappearing.
yeah, it's definitely weakened. So that's a great trend to see, and good news that the warning will expire here at 10:15. And now we're going to be watching these storms coming in from the west, producing the threat for damaging straight line winds. These are the winds of 60 miles an hour that are possible. But as you mentioned, and also Dave, out ahead of it, some intense storms with lightning and heavy rains from Rogersville, Baileyton, and already seeing some rains in Kingsport and Gate City.
And I would wager a guess here that probably some of the heavier rain right now, even considering what's back west, looks to be in that area of Hawkins County, toward areas around Bowles Gap and Baileyton, just west of Greenville and Mossheim. And so that, and it's there. Now we do have a severe thunderstorm warning.
I'm sorry, Dave. That is actually a strong thunderstorm alert.
I
know it looks like a similar color. But so what the Weather Service is saying is that it doesn't meet severe thunderstorm criteria, but there could be winds of 40 miles an hour and some pea-sized hail with these storms. So a strong storm alert just below severe limits, but still impactful.
Yeah, definitely. I'm glad you brought that up. That would be, the next step up would be a severe thunderstorm warning, but a special weather statement or, severe weather statement just highlights the potential for that strong storm. And we'll continue to monitor these storms as they push off to the east. Okay. All right. So what we're going to do now, since we've seen that tornado warning expire, we're going to go ahead and go to regular programming. We thank you for allowing us to cover up the programming for this, what we would have considered a tornado warning for a life-threatening situation. But we'll continue to monitor these storms as they push eastward, continuing the severe thunderstorm threat as they push through southwest Virginia, northeast Tennessee. But at this point in time, we do not have a tornado threat with the storms any longer, but we'll continue to track this line of storms that is going to be pushing into northeast Tennessee and is actually impacting northeast Tennessee right now over the next couple of hours, and we'll break in with pertinent information and updates as they become necessary. I want to thank David Boyd, meteorologist David Boyd, and meteorologist Teresa Carter for your insight and for your coverage as well this evening. But right now, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dave Dirks. Now back to regular programming.